In today's increasingly interconnected world, the movement of people is inevitably shaping the economic, social, and intellectual balance of nations. Among all types of migration, one stands out both logically and emotionally: the migration of educated professionals, commonly known as brain drain. Moreover, this is not a recent phenomenon. It has existed for decades. Furthermore, its effects are spreading wider as global inequalities deepen. Many countries educate brilliant minds only to watch them leave for lands where opportunities seem brighter. Nevertheless, this flow of talent does not always mean total loss. Nonetheless, it raises questions about fairness, sustainability, and the very meaning of progress. Governments in developing nations invest heavily in education, hoping to cultivate the scientists, engineers, and doctors who will shape their futures. However, once these individuals acquire skills, they often discover systems that conversely reward loyalty rather than innovation. Alternatively, they may face unemployment, corruption, or limited research funding. Subsequently, they begin to look outward. Accordingly, the promise of higher salaries and better living standards becomes irresistible. Hence, the migration cycle begins, and thus the brain drain continues. Consequently, the home country loses talent. Therefore, its growth slows, while the host nation benefits. Some even design policies whereby foreign professionals can settle permanently, thereby strengthening their own economies. Without reform, this imbalance will persist. Otherwise, developing nations risk being left behind. Instead, they must find creative ways to retain their talent. Likewise, host countries must consider the ethical dimension of constantly importing other nations' best minds. The story of brain drain is not purely economic. It is nonstop, touching personal dreams, family ties, and national identity. When a young doctor leaves Nigeria or India for Europe, it is rarely out of greed. They are seeking dignity, stability, and recognition. Many speak of their decision with pain, knowing they might never return. Some hope their homeland will remember them evermore as contributors, not traitors. Nonetheless, nostalgia alone cannot fix structural problems. Thereby, migration becomes not only a statistic, but a mirror reflecting global inequality. Globalization has uniquely intensified this process. Opportunities are more visible than ever. The world is smaller and borders thinner. A single scholarship can open doors that were once unimaginable. The digital age allows remote work. One can live in Cairo while working for a firm in Berlin. This flexibility remarkably expands what it means to move. Young professionals courageously chase opportunities their parents could not. They plan diligently, send applications laboriously, and pursue visas viciously, fighting for a fair chance in the global market. Yet, at night, many think tenderly of their families left behind. Some write letters meekly, apologizing for leaving. Others post boastfully on social media, celebrating their success, while their peers watch sulkily from home. Emotions mix hysterically in this modern migration theater. When governments try to analyze this phenomenon, they often respond unanimously: we must stop the outflow. But can such a force truly be stopped? Each citizen is individually motivated by dreams, fears, and ambitions. Yet, when thousands leave, the effect is felt collectively. Nations lose not just workers, but mentors, researchers, and innovators. Some try to monitor progress meticulously, creating databases to track returning citizens. Others act haphazardly, introducing random policies that barely touch the root of the issue. The most successful nations are those that respond spontaneously and deliberately, crafting policies that build trust rather than force loyalty. Motives for migration differ. Some people act purposely, pursuing better education or safer living conditions. Others move innocently, following family members, or escaping local unrest. Governments often view such moves suspiciously, worrying about the loss of patriotism. Yet to describe the phenomenon bluntly, patriotism is rarely the problem, opportunity is. When a system values political connection over competence, leaving becomes a rational choice. Migrants, meanwhile, express themselves eloquently about their new lives. Many adapt fluently to foreign languages and cultures, though they still miss home tentatively, unsure if they will ever return. The paradox is cruel but clear. Societies that fail to value talent will lose it. And once lost, it is hard to regain. The host nations, logically, benefit immensely. Their hospitals, universities, and tech firms thrive with imported expertise. The newcomers work diligently, integrate courageously, and often pay back their new societies many times over. Still, remarkably, many migrants never stop giving back to their roots. They send remittances, fund schools, or help relatives start businesses. These small acts collectively represent billions of dollars every year. Thus, while one country may lose its human capital, it nonetheless gains financial inflows and cultural bridges. Brain drain, therefore, cannot be treated as a one-sided tragedy. Conversely, it reflects the growing complexity of human mobility. Alternatively, it might be seen as brain circulation, where knowledge moves around the world, enriching everyone. Subsequently, international collaboration becomes easier. Accordingly, universities in different continents can share research instantly. Hence, global science advances. Thus, even as individuals migrate, the ideas they produce benefit all humankind. Consequently, the focus should shift from preventing movement to improving connection. Therefore, the true challenge lies not in stopping migration, but in making home worth staying in. Nations must design systems whereby talent feels valued and supported, thereby transforming potential loss into shared progress. Otherwise, the global divide will deepen. Instead, let education become a force that empowers people to choose freely, not out of desperation, but ambition. Likewise, policymakers must act diligently, not haphazardly, ensuring fairness, safety, and creativity thrive. The debate continues nonstop across conferences, think tanks, and classrooms. Some argue that brain drain weakens poor countries irreversibly. Others claim it fuels global growth. Nevertheless, everyone agrees it mirrors the broader story of our time movement. Humans have always moved from deserts to cities, from scarcity to opportunity. What has changed is the speed and the tools. The 21st century citizen moves spontaneously, deliberately, innocently, and sometimes purposely, all at once. The question that remains is whether the world can learn to share its brains as easily as it shares its markets. Migration will not stop, it will inevitably grow. The challenge, logically, is to make it fair. Moreover, fairness itself must be redefined in an age where nations compete for intelligence like resources. Furthermore, leaders must act courageously, reforming institutions so that talent no longer feels trapped. Nevertheless, hope remains. Each migrant carries stories, knowledge, and empathy. Nonetheless, no amount of travel erases the longing for home. The world will, perhaps, one day reach a balance, one where talent moves freely, but belonging remains strong. In that future, maybe people will no longer speak of brain drain but of brain exchange. Hence, migration will be understood not as loss, but as collaboration. Thus, humanity might finally learn the simple truth: progress shared is progress multiplied.